Well, good evening. My name is Kathryn Jessee, and I work with Chesapeake Community Programs. The Community Programs Office is an office that during normal times, we do a lot of different programs for families and teens, childcare providers, professional development, a lot of different things throughout the community. But we're in not so normal times right now, and we're trying to do our best to help to coordinate COVID resources. And so I appreciate that Lisa invited me tonight. There's a lot of different Chesapeake resources as well as regional resources. So I just wanted to go through some of those tonight. But before I get started, if you have questions, please put them in the chat box, and I know Lisa will read those to me later, or I had put my phone number in the first slide, and you'll see it at the end, which is 382-2272, or you can always email me as well. But let me show you some of the different community resources. Okay. I wanted to start off with the Chesapeake Health Department. They are putting up pretty much daily information about the city's COVID cases, as well as the state and national. But they're also putting information about their services. They, like other city departments, are closed during this time, but they can have appointments and things like that. The number is on the website, but they're still offering WIC and other clinic type services while during this time, even though the city's buildings are closed. The city of Chesapeake has been updating their website pretty much daily with COVID resources. I think some of the most important things that are on there right now is Mayor West has had 4 roundtable discussions with different directors from around the city and other city leaders to talk about the COVID response. So if you have a chance to look at these episodes, they're really good and pretty impactful. And then there's information regarding the election day and the change and how you can get an absentee ballot. But like I said, I know all the city buildings are closed, but all the city staff are still working. So if you go onto this website, it'll tell you what you can do to get the services you need, from everything from taxes and different health care and things like that. Oops. Let's see if I can fix this. There we go. Okay, that got a little wonky. So this is the Chesapeake Resource Guide, which is updated yearly. And, oh, again, I keep messing that up. I'm afraid to touch it. There we go. And so it's a great resource guide, and copies of this resource guide is at the Family and Community Engagement Office with Chesapeake Public Schools. You can get with either Lisa or Eunice, and they can get you copies. We offer that in both Spanish and in English, and you can find it online as well. If I keep doing the same thing, I just wanted to show you some of the resources inside. So there's everything around from emergency services, home visitation programs, housing crisis, where you can get food. It's a great resource. It's, again, a hard copy that we put out in the community. Chesapeake Are You Ready is a coalition within the city that has youth serving professionals. And so what we try to do is combine our information to make it easier for families to access. We do have a specific COVID coronavirus page, and most of the things that I'm talking about tonight or that we're sharing are on this page. Everything from the health department to some of the hotlines, resources, and a whole lot more. So if you after the webinar, if you want to go and find out some of the things we discussed, it's on this site. A state resource that is used is 211. That's a number just like 911 that you can call and ask for everything from food or rent, or you can go online, and it's 211virginia.org. And so let's say if I put in a zip code, and then parenting education. It's going to give you information from Chesapeake of different parent education programs, which is great. Everything from 4-H, Virginia Cooperative Extension, the public schools are here. So it's got a lot of information for our families to utilize. And then we also have a regional resource, which is called Resources 757, which is resources757.org. What you can do is you go and you click the button that says Find Resources, and they have a bunch of pretty pictures that you can choose from. And if I put something like mental health and substance abuse, if I clicked on that, it lists all the different resources throughout the region, and you can do searches for different information as well, to kind of limit your searches. Instead of right now it says 85. So let me go back to the slide. Okay, so these are the resources that I was just discussing. I added the COVID-19 hotline to get information from a regional perspective on what's happening from emergency management, volunteers, and those types of things. And at the bottom, you have the regional housing crisis hotline. That number, if you or somebody that you know is in crisis and needs help with housing, please call that number. They can help refer you to other services. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. Food resources, with all the change and our kids being out of school, Chesapeake Public Schools stepped up right away and started serving meals as soon as school closed on March 13th. They're doing the grab and go, which I have a flyer that I'll be showing you more information on that. The Food Bank of Southeastern Virginia is offering food every Tuesday night from 5:30 to 7:30 at Greenbrier YMCA. We also have a variety of food pantries that are still open. Some have closed, but most have opened. So our Abalist and Healthy Chesapeake, which are updating that each week, which I'll show you that. And I wanted to also provide this number, Meals on Wheels, for both the Chesapeake Regional Medical Center and Senior Services. Some folks have been calling because some of the folks that they're caring for need to have meals delivered. So I wanted to make sure that I provided that information. And then finally, how I'm going to show you some information on how, if you wanted to apply for food assistance, how you can do that. Okay. Abalist is a wonderful resource for our faith-based programs and resources. If you go onto the Abalist, there's food pantry operations during COVID. And again, all of this information will be provided after the presentation. I know I'm providing a lot of information right now, but you can either call me or I'll have links after. So these are the current food pantries that are open throughout this time, and it's broken down by day. And most of them have phone numbers so that you can contact them to make sure that they're still open. But again, this is being updated fairly often. And so there's and the folks that are putting this information together is the Abalist, Healthy Chesapeake, and Access Partnership. I wanted to show you, if you are trying to apply for benefits, and it could be benefits from heating and cooling benefits, healthcare, food, or any cash assistance, this is the site that you would apply on commonhelp.virginia.gov. And there's a phone number as well, but it's a pretty easy process. You get started. And if you wanted to see if you were eligible prior to doing the application, they have this handy dandy tool at the bottom saying, am I eligible? And what it does is it goes through the process so you can look you know, put your information in, and then they can tell you if you would likely be eligible or not. Okay. Oops. Okay, so again, here are the food resources. Want to make sure I stopped on that. Oh, I wanted to show you one more. Can't forget Chesapeake Public Schools and their food sites. That information is shown on the Chesapeake Public School website. And Andrea Vale, who's on this call as well, will be talking a little bit more about it at the end. But they're on Chesapeake Are You Ready? The meal distribution in both English and Spanish is on here. There was a change this week that it's only Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so you can pick up meals for Monday and Tuesday on Monday, Wednesday and Thursday on Wednesday, Friday, and the weekend on Friday. So the areas that they're delivering to are listed on this sites. Okay. Okay, so Childcare Resources, this has been an area we're getting a lot of questions about. We still have a lot of open childcare centers within Chesapeake. We are guesstimating about 60% of our childcare centers are still open and have spaces. And so I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that there's a couple locations that you can get information on the most accurate information on what is open. Childcare Aware of Virginia does have an accurate list. You can also call Childcare Aware at 1-866-KIDS-TLC. Explain where you live, the kind of care that you're looking for, and the area of the city, and they can help connect you to an open center. And then I'm going to just show you real quick. There's another website, Childcare VA, that has information for parents if they want to apply for subsidy, or if they want to understand, you know, what to look for when you're going into a new childcare center, and some other questions and resources for them. So I'm going to show you that. But before I do, I want to just tell you that our child care number, our early childhood program coordinators number, is 382-2232, who can connect you with either subsidy or other quality professional development or parent education. Okay. Okay, so Childcare VA is, oops, there we go. It has information on what changes are some of the guidance and licensing information for childcare centers, as well for parents. But I think the best part of this this site actually is the parent resource, and they have I'm going to show you this checklist. If I can find that, there we go. Let's see here if I can find the checklist. Well, I don't want to spend too much time, but they have a great, one of the resources they have that I share with many people is, you know, when you walk into a child care center, different things that you can look for to understand what's considered quality. Here's some of the information, actually. Just the questions asked when you call and things like that. And I know it's a big transition for our families and our kids going into new child care potentially in this situation. So this can help as well. Okay, there's your child care resources. Mental health resources. Obviously, this is a trying time for all of us, and especially those that have had previous mental health conditions, and so want to make sure that we are aware of where we can send folks to with mental health concerns. So Chesapeake Integrated Behavioral Healthcare, again, is a city building, and they are closed to the public, but their emergency services are still open 24 hours a day, and it's 548-7000 to call if you have an emergency, and they are still doing intake and group therapy as well as telehealth and other behavioral health services at 547-9334. They're even doing relapse prevention classes and other types of group therapy still all online. So they're still offering most of their programs online. Another great resource for mental health is NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. They are offering online support groups, peer education, family education, and mental health resources. I want to just show you their website because they've got a lot of great information. So they have their online support groups. And their schedule is here. And you can click here for online support groups, and it breaks down the different groups that they have and how to download and get the schedule. And we also have resources for COVID, which shows some information for families to contact United Way and to get some additional help as well. So I wanted to share that. Another really great resource for mental health it's a crisis text line. It's actually a national anonymous line that if you dial 741-741 and then you text home to that number, there's a certified crisis counselor that answers. This is a great resource, especially I've used this with teens who I've said, if you ever want to share it with your friends or anybody who might want to talk to somebody, again, it's completely anonymous. They can ask light questions, deeper questions. They can refer them to. So it's a great resource as well. And then finally, I wanted to say, if you or a loved one are experiencing emergency, don't hesitate to call Chesapeake Integrated Behavioral Healthcare, the 24-hour emergency services. Call 911 or the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, which the number is listed here, 1-800-273-8255. Our family resources, although we all are at home and not able to do the things that we love around our city, our Parks and Rec and libraries are really working hard to give us a good virtual experience. We also have, there's some regional information from My Active Child, which has great at-home activities to do with your children and connect with the education that you're already providing. And CHKD continues to provide parent education and pretty much has online parent groups a few times a week. And then finally, the Hampton Roads Workforce Council is providing tutoring for teens, financial literacy, and some other programs for teens, as well as adults supporting families look for work. Parks and Rec has been keeping their information up to date. So they really have done a great job going virtual. And you can look, they have everything. Just want to make sure you can see it because it's pretty impressive. They have on their YouTube channel or their Facebook page, which I'll show you, they have plenty of youth activities, adult activities, environmental athletics, information about their parks. And one of my favorites, I think, is the tourism, doing a history walk at Battlefield. I think it's pretty cool. And maybe we can connect it some way with our history lessons with our teens or middle school kids. So they're doing a lot of great stuff. So if you look at their Facebook page, scroll down here. See, they're doing exercise classes, ballet, a lot of different options to do while we're at home. Let's see here. Okay. The library has been doing classes on Facebook as well, doing some different story times. They have a lot of great resources for tutoring, free tutoring. Universal Class is education from financial literacy to Excel to different parent education, as well as education for children. You can learn a language, lots of different things. They have a Career Online High School, which is a certified program through the library, the Virginia Library. So a lot of resources for our families to continue to stay engaged. Okay. I wanted to, the one thing I don't have up here was the CHKD one, because that has some good, oh, there it is. Okay. CHKD has upcoming parent classes, one being on Friday midday about children and stress. But they have great everything from, new babies to mindfulness for children, meeting your doctor, positive discipline, understanding anger in children ages 6 to 12, some of the resources that we might need more than ever now. So this is a great resource to make sure you check out. And then the Hampton Roads Workforce Council, I wanted to make sure I mentioned them because they're also doing free tutoring. They have some tutoring for standardized testing, financial literacy, job search prep, and this is really for our teens that are looking for work, mainly 16 to 24. We partner with them a lot with some internship and job fairs, and they're offering online programs. Career-based programs for our teens. They also offer, as an organization, information for families who might be in need for job seekers as well as businesses to talk about some of the different grants and funding that's come out for small businesses. So I think the only thing I didn't really show on this is that the library, I don't know if I showed the library in some of their story time and craft. They're actually doing crafts online and posting different read-alongs. So it's something that could be utilized either for teachers or for families to incorporate education into their days. So let me go back to here. Okay. So now I think I'm turning it over to Andrea.
Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea Vale with Chesapeake Public Schools, and I just wanted to touch base with you about ways that you can help and ways that the school system is offering assistance during this time. So the flyer that's on your left, we're working with several church partners in a collaborative group called faithinchesapeake.com. All of these churches are partnering up, and they're at every single one of our meal drop-off sites, giving additional resources to our families. So it could be anything from laundry detergent, books, school supplies, non-perishable foods. Once a week, we have community members that are able to donate that are dropping things off at River Oak Church. It's a drive-up drop-off. So if you pull up, myself or one of the partners that works with me in the school system will get everything out of your car, and then we set it up, and our church partners actually show up at 2 o'clock, and they take all the items that we've collected throughout the week, and they take it to our families at the different meal sites. That way it's kind of one-stop shopping. They can get their meals that the school system's offering, and they can also get additional items to get them through the weekend. And then if you look at the flyer that's on the right, that's something that we designed, that the two columns are, do you need assistance? These are ways that the school system is able to help, or other community agencies are able to help, mainly the food bank and the United Way, along with our meal sites. And then are you able to help, whether it's dropping off things for our Faith in Chesapeake outreach, corporate donations that can go to the Chesapeake Public Schools Educational Foundation. You can donate directly on our website, and other monetary donations can go straight to the United Way to their coronavirus relief fund. And that's where a lot of families are going to get additional support to pay rent and to get, utilities and items like that they may not have the resources for right now. All of these flyers are either on our Chesapeake Public Schools Educational Foundation Facebook page or Twitter page, and they're also on the Chesapeake Public Schools page, the Community Resources flyer. So if you have any questions, my email address will be on the final slide, and I'll be more than happy to answer any of those questions. That's all I got.
Andrea, do you want me to show the website, the Chesapeake Public School website real quick?
Sure.
Okay, I think I have that. It's a lot of great information.
So through the school system, we've been trying to put all of the information related to coronavirus, whether it's the communication to families, those are all of the phone calls that you've been getting or emails that you've been getting with information with what's going on in the schools. Class of 2020, that tab is specifically for our seniors. Yes, and you can see that they're in Spanish also. The one underneath that, teaching and learning, that's going to go through the different phases of learning that we've been going through. Phase 1 and 2 were review and enhanced learning. Phase 3 is what we're in right now. That's actually where our students are learning new material. And then if you look at the bottom one, the Community Resources tab, a lot of the information that Kathryn went over today are underneath that Community Resources with the food bank, Faith in Chesapeake, and then you can also see with the Chesapeake Integrated Behavioral Health and other resources there. So it's kind of one-stop shopping for everything you could need.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Questions?
Thank you, Kathryn and Andrea. At this time, I'm going to give you a few moments to chat. You can ask your question if you have any comments.